Hey everybody, welcome to Slash Bash, where today I am bringing you another Choosing Beggar Reddit video. I am really trying to reach my goal of 10,000 subscribers, so if you can help me out in any way, I would really appreciate it. Also, a big thank you to our newest Slash Bash channel member, Catherine Price. In our first story, a choosing beggar at the market becomes infuriated when she doesn't get her cookie. Let's jump right in. One day a few years ago, I was walking through City Market with my mom. All was well, and I decided to get one of the sample cookies from the back. Seems perfectly normal, right? So I grabbed my cookie, which happened to be the last non-burnt one, just as another family is coming into the back aisle. I'm not a particularly social person, so I started to walk away. This family consisted of a mother and a son, the son being maybe 5 or 6 years old by my estimate. They realized that there aren't any more non-burnt cookies, which in my opinion shouldn't be a problem. Cookies are cookies. The child wails and notices that my cookie, that I haven't yet taken a bite out of, wasn't burnt. Wonderful observation skills, little Timmy. The mom approaches me and asks me in a sickly sweet tone, one you can tell is obviously faked, if I would mind giving my cookie to her kid. I wasn't sure if the tone was from her having a headache from dealing with her kid or if she wasn't a nice person. Seeing as the kid was young, I chose to be nice and broke my cookie in half. Now this cookie was fairly big, bigger than the sugar cookies you usually get. I offered one of the halves to the kid. I wasn't about to miss out on eating my cookie, nor was I about to go grab another one, as I felt that would be just rude to the next person. The kid looked confused at this, which immediately felt off. The mom's face contorted from nice to confused to offended very quickly. Somehow, me not offering the entire cookie was insulting to her entire family, and I was going to sacrifice a goat in order to curse them. I naturally was confused and only realized what was happening a bit too late. I backed up and tried walking away. The lady placed her hand on my shoulder, preventing me from walking away. I was maybe 12 at the time, so was a small boy. She held out her other hand as if she expected me to just hand my cookie over to her. Let me once again state that I had tried to share, but Karen and her little hellspawn didn't seem to understand the concept of sharing. This was evident by the atrocious wailing the child created from the depths of the underworld itself. I hate the sounds of children crying. I managed to pull away from the iron grasp from this lady and speed walked away. The guttural released from both her and her entitled child gave me the chills, and she marched up to me and tried to physically take the cookie away from me. Before she could, a light bulb flickered on, bursting into my head. I had a plan, and I was excited to see the new level of rage and profanities it was going to induce. As I said, these cookies were bigger than the basic sugar cookies they usually give out. Still, I stuffed that entire cookie into my mouth, and my mouth was really stuffed. For a moment, Karen and her child were silent, stunned by what they had just witnessed. 10 seconds later, the gates of hell are ripped from their hinges. Karen exploded at me, screeching profanities at me, many of which I hadn't heard before. I was only 12 at the time. I stood there with the smuggest grin on my little face as I slowly chewed on the cookie, continuing to rub salt in the wound until the profanities wound down to become indiscernible noises. Was it wrong of me to do so? Probably. Do I regret doing so? Absolutely not. After maybe 3 minutes of random sounds coming from the deep dark chasm inside this woman, she stopped to take a breath. I had finished swallowing the cookie by now and was getting tired of listening to the white noise this lady was spewing, so I began to walk away. "I'm not done with you," she yelled after me. I was done with her by this point, so I simply chose to ignore her and continued to leisurely walk away. Then, as soon as I was out of the aisle, I booked it back to my mom and continued on like nothing had happened. Story number 2 shows us a choosing beggar who offers to pay for a ride, but where's the money afterwards? Several years ago, I was 18 and just starting out on my own. I had this friend who didn't have a car and had asked me for a ride. He had something that wouldn't take too long and said he would pay me back. I picked him up around 9 and we ended up not getting back to his place until around 5 that afternoon, as the errands we had to run were about 1 hour from his house. And he went to 5 separate stores that were not close to each other, so I used my entire afternoon and almost 3/4 of a tank of gas. My car was an older pickup truck. During the day, I pretty much spent my time walking around the stores or trying to find something to do, as I didn't have the money to be buying a lot of stuff. Halfway through the trip, we ran through McDonald's to get food, and he offers to cover my food. Now, I was raised that when someone offers to buy you food, you only get what you need and you thank them, so I only spent $3 of his money. As we arrive back at his house, we go inside and I help him bring his crap in, and I wait for him to pay me. He starts saying goodbye and leads me to the door. Now, back then I had major social anxiety and hated confrontation, but at the last minute I summoned the courage and asked him about the money he had promised. He looks at me dead in the face and says, "But bro, I bought you lunch." I reminded him that I had only spent $3 on lunch, and he just shrugged and said he didn't tell me to be cheap, then walked inside. I just drove home dumbfounded. The saddest part is that I thought I was in the wrong for the longest time and had given the guy more and more rides because I felt sorry for him. This continued until one of my older friends explained to me how much of a butthole that guy had been, and I finally realized how much I had been used. In the end, there was no justice. He didn't end up being punished, but I did learn to see that I was being taken advantage of, which is a lesson I still use to this day. We don't talk anymore. In story 3, a choosing beggar is given a free hospital bed worth $2,000. She shouldn't have to pick it up though, right? So I got saddled with having to get rid of a hospital bed in less than a week due to a relative moving to a different care facility and acquiring a new bed, and no one asking until last minute what they should do with the old one. I figured it was a $2,000 hospital bed that was less than 2 years old, so it shouldn't be too hard to find someone willing to take it, right? So I posted it for free on Nextdoor with the careful explanation of exactly where it was and when it had to be moved by, giving a date a couple of days before the day that we had to get rid of it. Immediately, a nice lady from Meals on Wheels said they could send someone to collect it immediately. I was delighted, but before I could close the post, someone jumped on it and said how desperately she needed a bed for her disabled son who had outgrown his smaller bed. I informed her it was already taken and thought that would be the end of it, but then the Meals on Wheels lady privately contacted me to say that she did not have a client who needed the bed right away, so maybe I should offer it to the parent. Which I did. Again, carefully explaining to her she had to go get it within 4 to 5 days and giving her the facility information so she could pick it up. I also gave her information to the facility so that they would know who to expect, who had permission to take the bed. 2 days later, the care facility called me to say that when they called this lady to find out when she was coming to collect the bed, apparently all she did was complain endlessly about how she had no way to get it and could they possibly deliver it, and on in this vein. When I heard this, I messaged her telling her this was unacceptable. She knew from the beginning that she had to figure out how to pick it up, and yes, it was a 40-minute drive from where she lives to the bed, but she could rent a truck for less than $50 to do this. Oh, my flying spaghetti monster, the whining and complaining about how mean I was being. Then she demanded to know why the people who were taking the other piece of furniture I had advertised from the same location wouldn't pick up the bed for her. She didn't know them. She had the nerve to be really upset when I told her that this was not something I would ask them to do. I didn't mention that they had already gone and collected their piece of furniture as soon as I told them they could have it. When the day that she was supposed to collect it came, she didn't show up and collect it. So I called the Meals on Wheels lady again, who had her guys out with their truck to pick it up within 24 hours. Afterwards, we received a nice letter from both Meals on Wheels and the people who took the other piece of furniture, thanking us for the donations. As far as I am concerned, it worked out for the best. This is John from Slash Bash. Thanks for watching. If you've enjoyed the video and want to see more of them, then please hit that subscribe button. We'd love for you to drop a like, share it with your friends, and we will see you in the next one.